Ladies and gentlemen, we are now gathered to induct the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame is the true definition of a throwback. When I think back to the journey of our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, I go back in time, fellow operatives, to 1998 with Beanie Babies The Rage, Mark McGuire, the original Tyrant King of the home run fences. Britney Spears in a schoolgirl outfit singing Hit Me Baby One More Time, and Stone Cold Steve Austin raising hell. Oh, give me a hell yeah. But there was something about the Nemesis James Taylor. For over 10 years, the Nemesis James Taylor was raising hell all throughout the TWF against the likes of Phoenix, JD, G-Force, Kyle McGlyle, and others. You can say nobody was raising a can of whoop ass like the Nemesis. But then it all stopped for several years, and we wondered if this was the end. Then flash forward to where the Nemesis created a new path of his own, becoming an online game streamer, to the PWF, otherwise known as the Promo Wrestling Federation, where he helped connect those who couldn't step in the ring or wanted to around the world the chance to create their own path and their Super Bowl-like moment, you may say. All of this led to the Nemesis James Taylor to return on maybe his biggest stage to date so far in a company called Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, where he engaged in famous battles with the likes of Diablo, the real deal now, Anthony Steele. Yes, that's a name we can certainly still mention on Sportswire Radio. The Atomic Titan, now Hollywood, a Titan, our hardcore king. Joshua Allen in those legendary promo battles, and even a match with a guy they call the Destructive, Jack Delta, an up-and-comer named Cameron Cage, and most recently, the Prophet, Jay Wild. You can even say James Taylor, no matter win or loss, was and is the true king of the yard. In fact, the Nemesis James Taylor, his name has even been in the mouths of many Sportswire Radio Hall of Famers, including our coach, Chris Craven, or some may say, the real Craven. Darkron, the new Messiah Nicholas Crenson, sold to GP, and of course, since it's his show, the hardcore god, the boogeyman of the Midwest, Omen Black. These and other prominent backyarders have all gotten their moment and chance to sign on the Nemesis Sessions with James Taylor, the must-watch show for all Wrestling Matters operatives. You might even say the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame was built in part to the Nemesis James Taylor. After all, he has nearly 103,000 followers on his social media, making him one and only Taylor anyone cares about on Sportswire Radio. As it was, after all, Taylor Swift and her Swifties had reached out tonight to get the first interview on Sportswire Radio with us, but we said we've got the one and only, the real Taylor that anybody wants to hear about on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. I'd like to, though, before we induct our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, to read a passage from Matthew 28:19-20, which states, "I'm with you always to the very end." And I believe the term all wrestling matters has been what James Taylor has been in many ways since 1998. I was, after all, going to use John 3:16, but there was some guy named Stone Cold Steve Austin who already used it, so we had to think of something else that we could kind of maybe, I think, would do well for this moment here, but that's here nor there. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go on and on and on about our newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and our first member of our fifth class. But it's certainly time, my fellow operatives, to induct the real Taylor and our Super Bowl champion into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate the first member of our fifth class and the 41st member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And of course, I would arguably say the most talked about figure right now in the yard, our true king of the yard, our tyrant king, the Nemesis, James Taylor. Now, James Taylor, before I officially congratulate you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and join many people who have certainly had your name in their mouths over the past several months, such as, like I said, the names of the new Messiah, Nicholas Crenson, Dark Cron, Matthew Forsaken, we're all Forsaken, Coach Chris Craven, some would say the real Craven, or even Sean Jovi, the resident rock star. And of course, we can never forget Soldier GP, the popular heel monster, the IMF world champion. And once again, since it's his show, Omen Black, our hardcore god, the boogeyman of the Midwest, and the IMF hardcore champion. James Taylor, it's time for you to get that introduction that the previous 40 members of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, and of course now since you are our one and only Taylor, and the only Taylor that we care about here, and our Super Bowl champion on Sportswire Radio, it is time to give you that introduction and allow you to take your place in history in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one one more for the road sports show, the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, our first member of the fifth class, our 41st member, the host of the Nemesis Sessions, your tyrant king, the Nemesis My friend, congratulations. You're officially now a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer.
Thank you, Tom. I'm definitely honored for that. I greatly appreciate everything that you've done and being basically an advocate for me. That I appreciate.
Well, you certainly deserved it, and I know a lot of people want to talk to you. I'm sure some of it's going to be good, some of it's going to be in between, some of it's going to be bad, and I know that you'll certainly in a little while maybe address the future of the Nemesis James Taylor. But before we do that, and I'll say hello to everybody in a few minutes, I do want to ask you now, what does it mean to you to be a Hall of Fame? Because James Taylor, obviously you're the Taylor that we want. Like I said, Taylor Swift had certainly wanted to come on and grant us that first interview after her beau, Travis Kelce, had won the Super Bowl. But we said, we've got James Taylor, the man that has 103,000 followers nearly, the man that has over 4 million views on YouTube, the man that has even a clip on TikTok with 1.3 million views. And we were like, we have the Taylor that we need here on Sportswire Radio. But I'm pretty sure for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio that this is the first time you have been inducted into a Hall of Fame. So I now would like to ask you, the legendary Nemesis, James Taylor, our tyrant king, and especially for those fellow operatives out there, what does it mean to you to be in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
It means the world to me. This is my first time being inducted into any type of a Hall of Fame. This being a radio type and a podcast, Sportswire Radio, of course, the number one radio station in the world, in my opinion. Not sitting there blowing smoke up your butt, but you know exactly what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. But yes, I'm very honored to be as part of the Hall of Fame class, and if not the best one, the most talked about one. That could sound like arrogance or cockiness or whatever somebody wants to think. But you get a boogeyman from the Midwest or whatever his name is, and he wants to say that this is his show. No, this isn't his show. Clearly, everybody's talking about me on your show because this is your show, Tom, and I'm your special guest. I am the number one man in all of Sportswire Radio.
Well, we actually have some things that we want to give you and also some other announcements, and I'm going to get to one of them in a few minutes, but obviously, you're certainly right. And I know everybody's showing the screen right now with that other Taylor and that guy Kelsey, but we've got the Taylor that the people want. We've got the Taylor that everybody's talking about, fellow operatives. We've got the Taylor that started out in 98, back when Britney Spears was hitting it one more time. And certainly, I know a lot more people out there would certainly be looking a little more at Britney, especially sometimes if you've seen her in some different moments. But we'll certainly leave that. We're a family station, and we certainly do believe in some of the things we've talked about. You've always been with us in one way, kind of to quote Matthew 28:19-20. But in terms of just, being here, you're right. It's the people's show. We love Omen. It is his show and kind of tongue in cheek. But the facts are people have wanted to hear from you. And I would hope that this moment of you being in the Hall of Fame, which again still kind of baffles me, a man with 103,000 followers nearly hasn't been in a Hall of Fame. But we fix that for you. So certainly you're in a Hall of Fame. We're going to plug all your social media here in a few minutes. But I would hope that certainly you being in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame would, in a way, kind of be a big springboard to what I think in the 26-year career of the Nemesis James Taylor will be the biggest and the most memorable year to date.
Definitely. I probably, with as many followers as I have, it's just a number. I just see that number climbing, and
it's been climbing. That 1.3 million clip on TikTok with Stone Cold, the 4.4 million views. Think about when we started. Back in 2014-15, we were just streaming games. We were playing. We were cooking that New York strip. We were cooking. You're damn straight. We were putting garlic on it. We were showing everybody how to do it, New York style. And I was impressed. I would have ate your steak for sure. But look at you're welcome. I'm looking from where we started, from cooking with Taylor, the Nemesis sessions, almost Julia Child version, to where we started this worldwide juggernaut, the Promo Wrestling Federation, where so many people got their starts, to then your return to TBW, where you certainly had some legendary wars with some different people. Some names we could maybe say, others, well, we'll still say them anyway, like the likes of the then Diablo Anthony Steele, now the real deal Anthony Steele. Of course, that guy Titan, Hollywood Titan, now a hardcore king, and Joshua Allen, and of course, even the Prophet Jay Wild, and in between, a destructive Jack Delta, and plus an up-and-coming star, Cameron Cage. You've had some legendary battles, but something tells me that the battles that are ahead for the future are going to be the biggest to date upcoming, the Nemesis James Taylor.
100% facts, Tom. Definitely. All those guys that you mentioned, they were just guys that I was in the ring with. I got to share the ring with them, thankfully, some of them a few times, more than one.
Yep.
Like Anthony Steele and the
Jay
Prophet.
Wild, certainly. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm honored to have been able to step into the ring and do things like that with them and be able to tell my story and just continue to go forth with what we were doing. And then face people like Gage Flair, Atomic Titan, and so forth, and Mr. Cameron Cage. That kid, he's got a lot of potential.
I think Cameron is an up-and-comer. I hope that he's back in the ring soon. I've gotten a chance to know him the past month or two, and he's a guy that I would certainly love to see. And I don't know where it could be. I don't know when it could be. But I would love to see round 2 between you and Cameron Cage. I know Cameron's talked about it here on this platform. I know you reviewed the match, and I kind of felt in a lot of ways that there could be some magic with you and Cameron Cage. So I don't know where that rage could take place. I don't know when and how and will. but I would certainly love to see that, certainly a rematch there, and maybe without some interference of a king rage, we can see who might really be the Tyrant King operatives.
Who knows? Who knows? And yes, operatives. That's just a catchphrase that I've came up
I've
with.
been
I like
using
to
it,
express
and
my
I wanted to make this a special one. So I wanted to use operatives here for a change.
and I appreciate that. So hello and welcome, my fellow operatives. My name is Matt Taylor, and I am here on the Sportswire Radio. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell if you need to get notified. So every time Tom's on, you know exactly what's going on.
Man, we got some big
How
shows
Taylor's
ahead
gonna
coming
close
up.
the
We
bill
got
for.
big shows coming up, and even some guys from Alabama that have been talking about you, they're coming back on. And one guy even also is going to take his place into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and he's coming on real soon. I've got an announcement for somebody else from Alabama, your home state, coming into the Hall of Fame. But I should get to some comments because I got so many comments, and I want to obviously give you a couple things, but I do want to certainly come back here. Peter Richards, obviously you guys go way back from the PWF days, and also he does his own podcast. He says, been working on my James Taylor appreciation letter, but my dog ate it. So what would you like to say toward that?
Peter, you know what? It's all right. It's all right, kid. The only reason everybody knows your name, though, is because of me. I made you. Remember that. Now, that's going to sound like an asshole type thing to say, but I just got to rub it right back in your face. It's just like, Tom, it's like you get the dog, you train him as a puppy to become a superstar, and then here he is shitting on the floor, so I got to rub his nose in it now for acting like an asshole.
Well, you know, there's an old adage in politics that they used to say that, if you allowed somebody to cook the meal for you and they ate it and then they didn't wipe after themselves afterwards, you basically gave them a bird. But
he's biting
the hand that feeds. That's okay. Well, we love Peter. We'll see what else he has to say.
Peter's
a lot of people. Peter's a good dude. He actually has a podcast that we've played on here on SportsWire.org. In fact, one of his shows he's on with the Baltimore Kid is actually on here. They talked post WrestleMania press conference. Matt Tyson says this man did a whole I Love James speech. For what reason? Now, Matt Tyson comments on my Instagram page. So who are you again? And come again, and what your issue is, Matt Tyson? Do I know you? And what's your history with Matt Tyson?
Matt Tyson is a promo wrestler who's just nonchalant. He's kind of all over the place. He's got potential. We've had one match that really wasn't official, but other than that, he's just a promo guy. He seems harmless, but the history between me and him, it's kind of far-fetched and goes a long way back, but no matter what, we've overcome it. But I don't know him 100% very well. I just know him whenever I see him on social media like Instagram or Discord or whatnot. But that's it.
Okay, well, Matt, I thank you for tuning in. Nice to meet you. And I hope you enjoy the conversation and tell us what's on your mind, because that's what we're here for. It's the People's Show, after all. Started writing my new speech for James and spilled my Cheetos all over it now. Looks like a Van Gogh painting.
Next comment.
I wonder what movie trailers will be playing during the show. Well, we're not actually allowed by law to play movie trailers on Sportswire because that would be a copyright issue.
Not there, but I would like to point out one thing. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but me being in the South, and I'm really an old school fan of it, Twisters. I saw
the commercial during the Super Bowl. I was so pumped because movies right now, because I'm kind of a movie aficionado, and the movies the last few months have been absolutely a disaster. Aquaman 2 was terrible. Beekeeper was the only one that was like worth to go watch. Argyle was terrible. That was awful. I mean, movies right now have been an absolute abomination. So Twisters looks good. Ghostbusters is going to be out soon. So yes, we all can agree about that. My comment was basically stay tuned after the game because we were waiting so long because we obviously had to see the ending with the other Taylor and Travis, but that basically she was basically opening the show for you to come on. Because like I said, Taylor reached out to us. Yeah, Taylor reached out to us coming on the show, but we were like, you know what? We've got the Taylor with nearly 103,000 followers. This man is the definition of all wrestling that matters. This man is the definition of a king, a tyrant king. This man is the definition of a social media darling. This man is the definition of a name everybody talks about. Hashtag Taylor HOF. Hashtag Taylor HOF. There it is.
There it
Uh,
is.
our old friend, a man you know very well. By the way, another person. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You were one of the first people to know Omen Blackwood. Didn't Omen like last year around this time come on the show with
So the
you and
whole
Soldier? Yep.
here it is. I'm gonna throw it out on the table, whether they like to admit it or not. They've got the exposure. I helped give them the little boost because I saw them on YouTube. I was looking for backyard wrestling matches to watch over, and I happened to come across IMF with their little 300 or 400 followers that they
Well,
had.
now it's
Nothing
in the
wrong with that.
thousands. And yep. All right.
I've been there, but I liked their product, and I'll still say it to this day. I liked their product, and I asked them to come onto my show. They didn't ask me. I reached out to them, and I did it willingly, and I did it respectfully and happily. They came onto the show, and from there, they've been taken off. They ended up meeting Anthony Steele. Anthony actually ended up going there before I did. Yeah,
yep, last March. Yep, I remember talking about it. It's been almost a year since we've all known each other. I mean, yeah, pretty much.
And then now here come you and stuff like that. But what I'm talking about with the IMF boys is I reached out to them, and now look where they're at now. I'm not saying I had everything to do with it, no, but I do appreciate them and respect them and like them a lot. And yes, one day, what is this business? The 3 famous words that we all hear: never say never.
You know what? That's what it is, and I have no doubt that the future will certainly bring some of that. And Omen says, congratulations to be in my Hall of Fame on my show. And I do want to point out that Omen is actually the 7th member of our Hall of Fame. And Omen certainly is the hardcore god. He certainly is on our show here on Sportswire Radio with him. And we certainly love Omen, and we're certainly looking forward to his match actually coming up next week. And a plug, actually, Omen's going to be here this coming Friday to talk about his huge match for that IMF Hardcore Championship. So I'm very excited, as always, to hear from Omen. Another guy I'm excited for that is also here, just like yours truly, the good guy, Patty Mahomes, wins again. You know, I got to be honest, I don't know if I could say it, break the fourth wall or not break the fourth wall. I got to get him in the Hall of Fame because what he's done, he's beaten Jack Delta, he's beaten JX, who's been in XCW, has done some big things. I mean, you know, CJ Black's another guy that, you know, he's got a Hall of Fame case. I mean, you know, listen, WWE put Warrior in the Hall of Fame. They put Bret Hart in the Hall of Fame after a number of times. So, you know, if he wants it, I mean, we got to put him in at some point. Maybe WrestleMania weekend. I don't know. I'm just saying. You know, the body of work speaks for itself. CJ Black's a Hall of Famer, and you've certainly had, you know, him on your show, and you guys have had that back and forth. So I would like to say that he's a Hall of Famer, and, you know, we got to put him in. That's
good
what
old
Danny
DeVito. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I heard you say that, but I'm going to say, you know what, though? He does look a little bit bigger and better than Danny DeVito these, because if anybody saw the commercial with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the State Farm commercial during the Super Bowl, CJ's a lot taller than Danny DeVito. I mean, let's say that. Hello. Just like to say FKC. I would say probably like 80% of America is probably like that FKC at this point. Outside of the Swifties and Chiefs fans, it's pretty much unanimous. Our lovely lady there, Jules, says, good evening, Tom and James. Congratulations, Mr. Taylor. Lovely, Jules. Certainly, it is lovely to see you out there here with us. And Cameron Cage, I told you, an up-and-comer, one of my favorites of late. Another guy that I guess is a free agent. We saw him return briefly in Resurrection Wrestling against Dustin Alexander. They had a great match, and he certainly says that you deserve to be in any Hall of Fame. And Cameron is coming back to Sportswire in a few weeks, and Cameron's going to be joining you. So he's going to be joining you there. So definitely looking forward to that. Good day. I want to say hello to my buddy. I don't know if you know him or not, but you should know him. His name is Ace Reed. He's the host of the Wired Up podcast. He just interviewed Jackson Law. He just interviewed Jack Delta. Did a phenomenal job. When I say something stupid and get canceled, he can replace me. He'll have more followers, more subscribers. He'll give us that global base, kind of like how WWE right now is trying to go global in France and Australia and Canada and the UK. We'll have Ace Reed take over, and we'll get more followers. We'll get more subscribers, and he'll do a great job. And he's going to come back on the show here in a few weeks, and it would be, I think, now 1:22 p.m. Australia time. So thank you, my friend. Good to be with you. Look at that beautiful shirt, James. LOL. How you doing, Bren? I hope to. Nice. Yep. Do I know Bren?
Yeah, Bren. Actually, here's a little fun fact. Bren helped me come up with the logo for this. The TNJ.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He likes to take credit for it, but he did a good job. Definitely go check out Bren for a good logo maker. He's a good guy.
Well, you know what, Bren? Thank you for tuning in. Bren, I hope you hit the sub button for us, and I hope that you continue to do great things. I agree. Yes, happy Black History Month. And I would like to point out, actually, yesterday on the show, our final member of our fourth class, if I could for a second, was our first person that we could recognize here from the wrestling world in Mr. Infamous Montana. Infamous Montana, who is the current EBW Pro IR World Champion, was inducted into our Hall of Fame to kind of celebrate Black History Month and all the great things he's done out there in the Mid-Atlantic. And it was a great honor to have inducted him in our Hall of Fame. And I could not agree more with you on that. And thank you very much for telling us that. Obviously, Darkron, I'm sure we're going to get to Darkron in a little bit because obviously, as I mentioned, a lot of people have called you out the past several weeks. We're going to come to those names, and I'm sure you're going to have some things to say. People are waiting for that. Hello, Mr. Taylor, and a big congratulations to you. I'm going to drink all my Steve Weisers in hopes that I can open up a can of whoop ass the way you do someday, and that's the bottom line. I hope you liked my speech. Did you like my speech, by the way, tonight?
I did. I loved it. Thank
you. Want to critique? You want to critique like you do everybody else in the promo world? No. No. I think we'll move on. We'll move on.
You're good. Let's point out, though, real quick.
Yes, sure.
Everybody that's watching, there's 21 people in here. There should be 21 likes. Hit that thumbs up button right there for this podcast, because I know you're in here to see what's going on and to see what this is all about, whether you're a fan or you're not, or you hate me or you like me. It doesn't matter. Hit the like button. That way you never miss another episode.
I appreciate that very much, and I do, if I could, want to say that we've generated in the last 90 days over 10,000 views on YouTube alone, and we've hit like 150 plus subscribers in the last 3 months. So I do appreciate that there are people out there. There's certainly maybe not so fellow operatives of yours that might want to tune in, so they don't want to hit that like button or that sub button. But if you are out there, definitely hit the sub button, because I would appreciate that, because James Taylor, is a Hall of Famer on Sportswire. So basically, in a lot of ways, I mean, I've kind of replaced you with the Nemesis sessions, because you used to do all those shows, and now it's kind of like I took the load off you, so you can go focus on other things, and I've kind of taken that responsibility off your back, because the last almost 100 days, I've literally done about 130 shows. So just want to point that out there.
I am so sorry, but if you're enjoying it, that's all that matters.
No, I'm having a great time. Honestly, we spoke with a lot of great people, and I really cannot appreciate enough that people want to come on, and people all over the place talk. And speaking of somebody, if I could, I actually want to make an announcement real quick, because I actually present you a few things. But while I'm here now live,
right before you do, I literally just refreshed my page. You have just gained 2 new subscribers. You're at 537 now.
Well, you know what? It's certainly, God bless America. God bless everybody out there. Certainly that speech worked. Having James Taylor come back home, fellow operatives, this is the man that's the definition of all wrestling operatives. Finally, to get you here one-on-one, finally to get you to speak, not just to come in, can I have a few minutes, or can I say something? No, it's to get you here in the flesh and the wound, live, to talk about the future, to celebrate the past, talk about everything in between, and acknowledge our Tyrant King, doing it since 1998. Think about when 98 started. You had the Beanie Babies. Mark McGuire was the Tyrant Home Run King. And you had Stone Cold raising a can of whoop ass. And everybody was looking at Britney Spears in that skirt and wondering, how can we be hit one more time? Certainly, I think a lot more people might have been looking at Britney's skirt than Taylor's skirt. And then, that was the beginning of some guy named the Nemesis James Taylor starting out in the TWF. And here we are, and he's in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. But let me make the announcement, and I want to do it here for those that are listening and watching. I have a lot of announcements for you, but I want to do it for Hillbilly Tilly first, because Hillbilly Tilly is a good man. But let me make the announcement for Hillbilly first. So within the next month on Sportswire Radio, our general manager of the Alliance Wrestling League, Hillbilly Tilly, to be inducted into our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, our first ever general manager to be inducted. Hillbilly Tilly is going to be here. He's going to speak about AWL. He's going to speak about anything else he wants on his mind, and we're going to induct him in the Hall of Fame. So there'll be, technically by that time, 3 members from the state of Alabama in our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, and one other man we're going to definitely get to, I promise you. So stay tuned for that. But Hillbilly Tilly, congratulations. Definitely earned it. And Darkron wants you in 2024. We're going to definitely get to that. And Dylan Andrews here, the War Machine, says, hey, the war criminal. The war criminal, Dylan Andrews, the original one who was here last week on the show. And he had his back and forth with the company you used to work with, TBW. So I don't know if he could say you're TBW at the moment because you don't work for TBW. So, I mean, if he wants to say hi to TBW, he's welcome to, but you're a free agent. So, good point.
He can tell everybody wants. I don't even know who the hell he is. So
you don't?
Tell you.
Well, that's what some, Commissioner B certainly had that opinion, but I'll let the TBW guys and the AWL guys kind of figure that out. I'm here for James Taylor. An old buddy of yours, our 8th member in the Hall of Fame, Soldier GP, the popular heel monster, the IMF world champion, says, welcome, number 35. Took you long enough? Well, actually, it's 41, but I'm going to actually get to that in a few minutes. We got a lot of people in the Hall of Fame. James Taylor, yes, thank you so much. I'll come back to Ethan on that. I want to say hello to our good friend, Alexander Kelly. Hello, Nemesis. How you doing, Alexander? And a man that you certainly have a lot of history with, and a man that you used to share a locker room with, but who knows if you will again. I'm going to definitely get to that. It's time for James Taylor to respect his hardcore king, but you're the Tyrant King, though. You're the Tyrant King, right? Tyrant King. Right. The Tyrant King certainly is here first, but the Hardcore King, we definitely respect. Of course, our only TBW Grand Slam winner and a hardcore champion, of course, the man that has Jules NYC's heart, but that's a different conversation for a different time. Tyler Ark, the man on matchness from WCE. Good evening, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Alexander, and definitely get in touch. Would love to get you back on the show. Want to say hello to my buddy, by the way, who's joining you in the Hall of Fame in a couple of weeks. Shane Davidson, who actually just announced that he's taking a step back from the ring, but we certainly want to say Shane Davidson's going to be a member of our team here on Sportswire Radio going forward because he's going to be a wrestling analyst for us because obviously he was a top star in TBW in 2023. He was a main event guy, and obviously people want to hear from him and Alan Michaels, and they're going to be here right after Monday Night Raw with a number of guys like Coach Chris Craven, TBK, and Randy Dillon. A whole bunch of people are going to be here to talk about Raw, the press conference, everything else, and Shane's going to join us. So it's good to see you, and eventually he's going to join you in your place in the Hall of Fame. Forgot everybody else's challenges. I'm still waiting. I'm going to come back to that. Thank you, Ethan. Ethan's been on my shows for 2 months, and he finally subscribed. Thank you. Tom, I'm devastated after the Super Bowl loss. I need to stop getting emotionally invested in sports. It's always heartbreak. Let me just say this as a New Yorker, and I've never seen any of my teams win a championship. When I was basically born out of my mother's womb, my mother's stomach, all I've known is heartbreak in sports. As a New York sports fan, every team I've rooted for is the Islanders, the Mets, it's the Knicks, the Nets, the Jets, everybody else, the Bills, you want to throw them in there. It's all been heartbreak. So I've known that my entire life, and sports is a tough thing, but we've got wrestling here, and all wrestling matters, and that's why we're here for you. I agree, James Taylor, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm glad that somebody agrees with me on that. Chiefs won, LFG. Yeah, well, Taylor, but we got the Taylor we want, but he doesn't like football anyways. How is your evening doing? Yeah, how you doing right now, James Taylor? How you feeling? You got a big crowd tonight. You're in the Hall of Fame. You were the Taylor that we wanted rather than Taylor Swift. I mean, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling a little bit thirsty. I'm going to get me some of my bottle of water.
I got Coke.
You're making me thirsty with how much talking.
Well, we got a great crowd tonight. I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's good to be alive. It's good to be back here where all wrestling matters, in the People's House, one of the houses that James Taylor's built. And it's so good to be back here and talking all things related to the world of wrestling in our community. And I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so happy that you've taken the time out of your day to be with the real Taylor, the one and only Taylor. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I really appreciate that. He's not the only free agent. Well, you know what, Alexander Kelly? Let's get in touch. We could talk about that. You already know about my challenge. We're going to get to that. I promise you we're going to get to that. Shane Davidson doesn't like the atomic B word, but I'm going to move off from that. Sounds like we need some regicide. We're going to come back to all that, I promise you. Atomic Titan. I told you Jules has got a hard on for the Atomic Titan. Yes, I would love to get you on. And when I'm off the air, get in touch with me. We don't follow each other on Instagram. I'm at the Sports Report 2021. In fact, I'm not doing anything Tuesday night. So definitely, if you want to get in touch, let's hang out. A very long-time friend of yours is here, by the way. Creepy Leech, long-time friend of yours.
What's up, Leech?
You can always get emotionally invested in me. See, I told you. I see it's Valentine's Day. There's certainly, Cupids are kind of attracting. And, we see what's going on with Olivia and Christian, Travis and Taylor, and maybe Jules and Atomic. Who knows? Never seen any of my teams win but my Cavaliers. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, as a New York sports fan, I just haven't won anything. James Taylor is the king of wrestling. Yes, we do agree. He's the Tyrant King. What's your favorite style of wrestling? I'm a deathmatch guy. What do you want to say to that?
My favorite style of wrestling?
What's your favorite style of wrestling?
Back in the day, it would be a hardcore no disqualification match.
You wrestled in a few of them. You took some light tubes back in the day, even, by the way. I watched some of those legendary wars in TWF with Phoenix and G-Force and JD. I mean, you know what? I watched your stuff, so I know.
Thank you. But nowadays, straight up, maybe it's the old school of me, but a straight up one-on-one match. Normal match for me. But if you want to get a little more technical, I'm a huge fan of triple threat matches. Just a regular triple threat match.
What?
But if you
I like it
in a triple threat match, you will.
Well, I got current events I'm going to get to here, so hang on tight. A lot of people want to talk to you. You only have heartache in sports because you only root for losers. I root for the winners. Well, you know what? I'm going to handle this here. The legendary Nemesis James Taylor, our Tyrant King. I've got a winner right here. A man who's got nearly 103,000 followers. And you, my friend, a man that's been doing this since 1998. So I've got a winner right here. And I don't need to root for anybody else because I've got the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the people, and people like you, the Tyrant King, the Nemesis James Taylor. So thank you very much, Jules NYC. The man, the myth, the legend, the man, the lie, the flake, Summer Bash 2004, Soldier vs. Taylor. We're going to come back to that. What's a match you look forward to having out of all these? We're going to get to that. I promise you we're going to get to that.
We're blowing you up right now, Tom.
I give you something, and I promise the people, hang on tight. I want to give you a couple things. Okay, and we're going to Fortnite and Atomic Titan, they'll answer that question. Yes, trust me. And good night, everyone. Why are you leaving for? The Atomic Titan is leaving. He's saying good night, everyone. That's why we want to stay here. Why are you leaving for? Well, I guess
he's up in a bunch because his football team didn't win, I guess.
All right, you know what? I know people want to get to questions and current events, but before I do that, the Nemesis James Taylor, the legendary Nemesis James Taylor, and for your fellow operatives out there, our Tyrant King. We've been doing this Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame now for a couple of months, and we've obviously had 40 members. You're our 41st member, and I could present you something that officially recognizes you in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. I would like to show you something for many of your fellow operatives, those that may love you, those that may certainly have some disappointment with you, and everybody else that's watching for the first time. So could I present to you something for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, that officially shows that you are in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Okay, well, you know what? We're going to actually do that right now. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You can see here that officially on this date, February the 11th, 2024, James Taylor, the Nemesis James Taylor, of course, the legendary Nemesis himself, our Tyrant King, is our 41st member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. We have my John Hancock. We have my official position. We have basically our logo, everything else that recognizes you officially as a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. So, James Taylor, as I continue to say, baseball has the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. Football has the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Basketball at Springfield, Massachusetts. Hockey, it's up in Toronto, Ontario. But for those of all wrestling background, whether it's certainly companies, types of wrestling, where you wrestle, who you are. We have now the Hall of Fame for All Wrestling Matters with Sportswire Radio, and you are officially a part of it. James Taylor, congratulations.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that, respect it, and thank everybody who's been on this journey with me so far. And to all the haters out there, thank you for continuing the hate, because all you're doing is just motivating me to continue forth and keep doing what I do best, and that's just prove everybody wrong. So there you go.
You know what? Well, you definitely deserved it. And I definitely think that the 26 people on YouTube right there, 25 now, it was 26 just before that are watching, that, you know what? They're watching. They want to hear what you have to say, because in a few minutes, I am sure we're going to talk a lot about where you're going, who has challenged you, what the future lies. But before I give you something else, James Taylor, I actually have something else I'm going to present to you. I have some more comments. Now, a man that is certainly a part of our Sportswire radio team, but also a man that has interviewed you. The Baltimore Kid is here. The only thing legendary about Taylor is the legend of him appearing at shows he's been invited to. The legend goes, he was asked how the legend ends. We may never know. Interesting.
Hey, he's taking a dig. He's trying to pull a rib on me. It's the fact he's going off of what Soldier GP and Omen Black, because those are his upstate buddies, and because I haven't shown up yet, that's where he's digging at.
Well, you know what? We're going to get to that in a few minutes. And speaking of people we're going to see tomorrow night, right after Raw, the trendsetter, Alan Michaels, is going to be joining you in the Hall of Fame in a few weeks. He says, congratulations, James. Obviously, always like to stay trendy with Alan Michaels. And Alan's going to provide football analysis. Hopefully, Alan, when you talk NFL, you can tell us why Taylor Swift won't be at so many games next season coming up. Hopefully, you give us that, stuff there. But Jules here says, good evening, TBK and Alan. Also, hello to you too, and want to say hello to my buddy Steven Silvestri, a man that refereed your match against Cameron Cage. Steven Silvestri, wrestling's greatest referee, interviewer, also the new official general manager for Resurrection Wrestling. And Steven's been going through a couple different things. I hope he's doing well out there, and anything I could do to help, buddy, I'm always here for you. Thank you for your support. And Alan Michaels and Jules NYC, I don't know anything about that. Summer Bash is the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Well, you know what, Darkron? I mean, that might be something we could do. We could actually induct the Summer Bash event in the Hall of Fame. So I'm glad you asked. That's a great idea. So we can certainly do that when we get closer. Thank you, Darkron, for your brilliant idea. Shane Davidson, you're so sweet. Congrats, James. Alan versus Taylor going to be at some point. We're going to talk about that. Ribs, I don't even like pork. Come on, James. It's like you don't know me at all. Hellson, I'm still waiting for you to step up to the show you invited me to, laughing my ass off.
Keep doing your cooking stuff and making your little podcast and play with your little guitar and play with the strings on it, and never say never.
Well, I think, Mr. Taylor, I think that this would be a great time to actually, before we talk about the meat and potatoes of also why we're here tonight. We speak about all these people. They certainly got your name in their tongues. And thank you very much for tuning in. We're on Sportswire Radio now. Right now, if you're on Twitch, you can subscribe to us at Sportswire Radio, YouTube at Sportswire Radio 6579. Hit that sub button, hit that like button. I'm here almost every single day, and it's about all wrestling matters here. Also, our internet radio station. If you have a podcast like TBK's or Peter Richards, you're welcome anytime to join us here. But before I get to the meat and potatoes of where you're going, what you're going to do next, a lot of people seem to know about you. A lot of people seem to talk about you, kind of like that Taylor. That's why you've thrown that other Taylor off the table. So, James Taylor, the Nemesis, I actually have something else to present to you for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio that you don't even know about. In fact, you actually do not know what I'm about to present to you. So do you think it would be a good time now to actually present to you something else for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters, our Tyrant King, and for the fellow operatives out there, the Nemesis James Taylor, could I present to you something else on behalf of this historic night, especially for those that I have no doubt that have you in your mouth right now?
Definitely. Let's go. Let's go for it. Do you want to full screen it, or how do you want to do it?
I'm going to do it the way I did it just right now, and Ladies and gentlemen, when I think about this past year, right, in 2023, we had a lot of memorable people come on the show. We had a lot of memorable interviews. We had a lot of memorable things that took place, whether it was in the backyard wrestling world, the professional wrestling world. We had a chance to speak with the likes of Dean Allmark, who defeated certainly Jushin Thunder Liger, Bryan Danielson, Luke Leyland, who just fought in Dambe over in Nigeria, the first person outside of Africa to have done that. R.P. Davis, of course, the only person in the entire country of Britain to be a boxing and wrestling world champion. Danny Burns, who was played in the Final Four. I mean, we've got a whole list of people up and down the world of sports. Paige Palazzolo. I could go pretty much all down the list of people. But there was one personality this year when somebody came on this show. It didn't matter who, didn't matter when. Everybody had something to say. Everybody wanted to address him. Everybody wanted to say, well, he's a flaker. He's a liar. He's the greatest. He's the worst. He's the best. He's everything in between and a bag of chips. And that's why for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, James Taylor, congratulations. You are our 2023 Sportswire Radio Personality of the Year.
All right, then. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Personality of the year.
You were the personality. Listen, everybody's talking about Taylor right now. Taylor and Travis. I'm sure tomorrow we'll see news that Taylor Swift's pregnant, and we'll see news, I'm sure, that Taylor and Travis are planning the wedding for summer. I have no doubt we're going to see something with that, especially after what we saw there. And if you thought that the NFL wasn't rigged, if you didn't think the NFL wasn't scripted after what I just watched tonight, I got news for you. You're certainly not watching what I'm watching and most of the people that watch tonight, because certainly the NFL should certainly stand for, instead of the National Football League, the National Entertainment League. It's not the NFL anymore. It's the NEL. But I digress. You are definitely our personality of the year. Sean Jovi was certainly our superstar of the year, but you are our personality of the year. When I think about everything in 2023 with all the memorable interviews, all the memorable shows, you were the man that certainly everybody would talk about. James Taylor here, James Taylor there. So congratulations. You certainly have continued to also be somebody I have no doubt in 2024 that could repeat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just continuing to do what I do best, and that's I just don't know how to shut up sometimes whenever I talk.
Well, that's why we love that. That's why we always love the truth that you give for us. We always love the fact that you address everybody in the way you do. We love the fact that you post those Stone Cold videos and those WWE 2Ks and those cooking segments years ago where you cooked that New York strip steak, and those segments where you went out and saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and those Nemesis session shows where you brought on CJ Black, Darkron, you brought on Chris Craven, you brought on the IMF, you brought on even once upon a time Atomic Titan, Joshua Allen, and Russell Cooper, even when he was the TBW commissioner once upon a time. You have certainly done it all. That's why you are our personality of the year. Just like Taylor Swift, everybody would say she's the personality right now. You, my friend, were our personality of last year. And also, before I get to everybody else, I'm going to make an announcement. The minute we get off the air, James Taylor, I am going to officially purchase my Nemesis James Taylor shirt right after we get off the air. So congratulations, James Taylor. This is your lucky day. It's almost like that segment years ago on Raw when you were killing it back in TWF with Mick Foley and Rock. This is your life segment. James Taylor, this is your life tonight. Congratulations.
I appreciate that, and I'm ready and willing to answer a lot of these questions.
Hey, we're gonna get to him now. We're gonna get to him because I have said enough. We've honored you enough. Let's get to him here. So let's go with the first thing here. Let's go with Peter Richards. What do you think has happened with Ledger Shade? That's obviously the big question. It's kind of been a mystery. He was the TBW World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, what has happened with Ledger Shade? Do you know anything about it? Obviously, I know you don't work for that company, but what do you think happened there?
Prima donna who wasn't getting their way, got their ass kicked out the door. Maybe, hell, I don't know, but I mean, you can only have an ego for so long and think that you're impersonating somebody else, and you finally get everybody pissed off enough at you that for real they kick you out and you're done. I mean, literally, why else did they go for a new TBW World Heavyweight Championship? And then they go on and they crown a new champion. Congratulations to the ringleader, by the way. It's a hell of a guy.
Yes, very good guy. Russell Cooper,
deserves it.
great guy, by the way. Actually, I want to say it, great guy.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, there's a lot to it. But that's it's not my business to address here. So honestly, that's going to be something that you need to talk to the TBW owners about, ladies and germs, Tom,
Well,
everybody. So
okay, well, speaking of that, Mr. Davidson would like to say, what's your thoughts on TBW losing their only decent talent? Me, Alan Michaels, yourself, the Alpha Daniel Cole, the former world champion Ledger. And, again, do you have any thoughts on that? Obviously, again, I know you're not contractually obligated to work there. I don't know what the future is, but what do you think on that?
I am a free agent. Whether I go back or not, I really can't say because I don't even know. Believe me, if I did, I'd tell you because I don't have the pull strings to make myself go somewhere. I mean, I could show up, but for all I know, they can ban me and kick me out. Who knows? Or they welcome me back with open arms. I don't know. I still got that rubber match I need to do with the Prophet, but I'm going to point out something. That comment right there, the reason something like that is the way it is I'd like to go ahead and get this little thing off my chest. And that's
absolutely. It's your show tonight. You can say anything you want.
The majority of backyard companies, you see, the majority of the way backyard wrestling companies are ran today, this is going to piss a lot of people off, but it might also have people saying, you know what, you're absolutely 100% correct. Either these companies shut their doors because everybody sees the bullshit, so they don't want to do it no more. So you get companies that shut down because they don't last very long. But then you get other companies that continue to keep doing what they're doing, but they recycle the same 4 or 5 people to be their champion. And then so many people are going to watch it and be like, this is just stale. Where's something new and fresh? But when you get the people that want to be part of the fresh, the owners don't want that. A lot of people, this is going to sound toxic and sour in a way. Uh-oh.
Somebody's seeing the cue there to say, don't say what you're about to say.
Yeah. I'm a little hot and bothered over it. A lot of people in these companies like to build a company, and I see it in the promo world all the time. I see it in the 2K eFed world all the time. They make themselves a company. They know how to run it, they say, and they make themselves champion. Or they only pick their favorites to be champions. Favoritism. I've seen it 100 times over. I see, literally, it's the old man in me. Because a lot of people like to point, you're just an old man, James. You're just an old man, Taft, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? The old man can see and smell bullshit 10 miles away. I promise you. I've created.
Isn't LA Knight older than you, though, by the way? Last I checked, LA Knight, the Man of the Year movement, he's actually older than you, though, correct?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm 39. I'll be 40.
Hey, Sting's still going. He's a tag team champion in AEW. What's he, like 80?
He's in his 60s, almost 70. But that's the thing, Tom. These kids today, they're running these backyard companies. They're running these promo companies, whatever. They think somebody like me, I've barely had so many matches. What the hell do they know? I get in the ring. I know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm going to do, how to tell a story, how to show emotion, continue to do. And then here's the number one thing that any wrestler should have is a mouthpiece. But 90% of all these guys, no offense, Tom, that have come on your show, great Hall of Famers, great guys, but this is the wrestler and me talking shit to them. They can't talk shit to save their life. You say I'm Personality of the Year. I am honored. I am grateful. I am thankful. That blew me out of the. I can't believe you said that. And thank you.
I told you it was going to be good. Didn't I tell you before we went there? I'm like, trust me, I got something up my sleeve.
Yeah, I'm humbly appreciative for what you're doing and what you're giving me. And I'm backing up what I do. Because one thing I like to do is talk trash to somebody. I like to put them on blast and see if they can stand up to me because apparently I'm the fake. I'm a fake-ass Stone Cold Steve Austin. But you know what? I love the guy. Stone Cold Steve Austin I respect more than any other wrestler that's ever been there. To me, when you say, hey, who's your favorite wrestler? When you think wrestling, you're not really thinking Hogan as much anymore. It's Stone Cold, literally. Not The Rock coming in, doing the Bloodline segment. Yeah, that's cool and all. Him going heel, maybe the Hollywood Rock. We can talk all that, but still, it's the fact that, Tom, you get these kids who come in who want to do these companies. They start their company because The reason they start these companies, Tom, here's the secret. Here's the dirty.
I know where you're going to go with it. Tell
They
me.
do it because they weren't happy where they were before, so they go on and build their stuff. Anyways.
Well, let me ask you, but there's a question that's a follow-up that I think D'Angelo LaFlame had. D'Angelo's going to come on in your chair next week. With all you've known, right? And there's a lot more comments. We're going to certainly address a number of different things here in a few minutes, but you've obviously been doing this since 98. You've got this massive following. You're universally known. Have you actually considered, maybe saying, I can do it and start my own company? Has that ever been something you've crossed around? Because, with everything that you have, the connections that you have, is that something you've ever considered, maybe starting your own promotion?
In today's time, yes, I've thought about it. Back in the day, the old TWF days.
Yes, the great years. Yep.
That was my company. I never forced myself to be champion. We only had to select people. But here was the cool thing about that.
You even lost in that battle royal. You actually lost in the battle. You could have won that battle royal. You lost in it.
Everybody had a chance to be champion. Everybody became champion. And we were a family and we all had fun because we were literally, we didn't want to go out and go do the parties and shit, go get drunk, get messed up, and go do stupid shit and regret the rest of our lives. Instead, we wanted to beat the hell out of each other, put it on camera, and then point and laugh at each other. That's how it started because we were wrestling fans. And then it just grew from there. Even before YouTube was a thing, my first sign of being noticed was I went to a McDonald's one day. I was walking there. I walked everywhere back in the day.
I still do it. I still walk around.
So I was walking and I went to McDonald's one day and somebody came through the drive-thru and said, hey, are you that guy on the wrestling videotapes that's around here? What? Somebody showed. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, are you James Taylor? I said, yeah, the wrestler, the backyard wrestler. I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. When are you doing another show? I was like, I don't know. Well, let us know. I'm like, okay, never knew their number, never knew who the hell they were, but I mean, there it is. So I just did it for fun. I did it simply for the passion of it. And I still do that to this day. Yeah, I had a big break in between. And a guy that a lot of people don't like, Anthony Steele, surprisingly brought me out of retirement. And now I'm sucked right back.
Well, that's why, you know what? And I know, listen, Anthony is certainly a figure that he's a phenomenal talent. And I don't want to take that away from him. But certainly he's shot himself in the foot, according to some, in some different ways. I like Anthony. He's always been certainly very interesting here on the platform. But he has a lot of people and he's been in a lot of places that don't use his services. So it's kind of like a catch-22. But I feel like in a lot of ways, I had to mention him because he's a part of your comeback. He's a part of you being on the biggest stage, and that would be lying to your body of work. Just like in many ways, people looked like for a period of time where you couldn't mention Bret Hart in WWE or Hulk Hogan when they were gone. You couldn't mention them, but you had to mention them in their body of work, regardless of what they may have done in the companies they worked for. The facts are is that Anthony was the opponent that really was kind of your yin to the yang, the Austin to the Rock, that put you on the map to where you are a Hall of Famer for sure. Certainly the first run, you were probably going to be in the Hall of Fame, social media, PWF, Nemesis sessions, yes. But the facts are, Anthony, he absolutely deserved to have been mentioned in my speech, regardless of what people may think of him in the companies that he's worked for. Is he to many like an Aaron Blaze, for example? Aaron Blaze is somebody, a phenomenal talent, and some people look at Aaron Blaze and say, well, how long does he last? But the facts are Anthony is somebody that is a part of your history, and I think that, as we always do, all wrestling matters. So great question, D'Angelo. I have a ton of more comments, so let me try to get to people. Playing guitar has been uncool. Sitting in a room of toys, talking stuff, and eating snacks, however, yikes. Okay, I just meant that Summer Bash 2 has all of the Hall of Fame, but I'll still induct the event anyway. So to me, I have no problem with that. I want to come back to other comments here. If there are any promotion out there, Alan Michaels is taking bookings for all of 2024, professionally trained and ready to go always. And I want to say this, Alan Michaels, as your advocate, the Reverend Tom Bryce, if you're a company out there, Darkron, if you got Summer Bash, Omen and Soldier, if you got an IMF show coming up, WCE, you're out there, ROEW, XCW, anybody out there, you want to book a trendsetter, you want to stay trendy, this is the man, this is my guy, book him. He can talk. He's been in big main events in TPW. He's got a following. He can rap. He can dance. He can pretty much do it all in the ring. He's agile for his size. He's certainly a guy that's been there on the biggest stage and had a lot of success. Alan Michaels, definitely a guy that you want to book, and he's got my support, and I'm going to certainly be vouching for him. So there you have it. As acting Alan Michaels, I'm going to say it here basically as your unofficial advocate. If there's anybody that wants to book you, I'll certainly let them know. Okay. They didn't want Ledger being champ, so they just erased his name completely. Well, that's up to them. I can't speak on behalf of TBW.
Oh.
A man that you have to get on your show, the Tribal Cheese, who's up at 4:57 in the morning. What on earth is the Tribal Cheese doing 4:57 a.m. UK time, other than maybe thinking about the fact, he just did TBK's podcast. He's sick of seeing me and my mutton chops, and he wants to go with the man with the 103,000 followers, the man that's had 4.5 million views on YouTube, the man that's had a 1.3 million view clip on also TikTok, who also can be followed at Taff_Taylor on TikTok, Instagram, Taft Taylor on YouTube, and go to his Etsy store, because this is a man that's a Tyrant King that we acknowledge, a Tribal Cheese that's a Chet of the table, our Chet of the Sportswire table, and our Tyrant King of the Sportswire radio table. I cannot wait for the day the Nemesis Sessions, James Taylor, speaks to the Tribal Cheese, Big Cheese Logan himself. So I need to pause. I'm going to have my steak extra super well done. Well, you know what? Fun fact, I do like my steak well done. Thank you very much, Jules. And I appreciate you actually agreeing with that. That's good. I'm happy about that. Ledger was visibly OOC, out of character, I think, with James, Prophet, and I were the main event that day and not him. But that's a question that, I couldn't answer that. That would be up to the booking committee and the people that run TBW, and that's not my call, and that's not James Taylor's call. But I agree with you. Whatever happened, that's on them, and they can answer that if they desire to. Now, there's a legend, the Tribal Cheese himself. Absolutely. Yes, we love TBK. Sign me up, James. James, did you train yourself? That's a good question.
I am self-taught. It's basically a lot of studying my own matches and studying other matches. I'm always watching and I'm always learning, and then I critique myself after every single match. I'm ready to look at the footage. I don't care how tired I am. I mean, I could be filming a match in Tennessee, and then on my way home, a 3-hour drive, I'm looking back at the camera and just like studying and watching it. You constantly critique yourself, and it's not bad to critique yourself as a wrestler.
Absolutely.
Better. And yes, I am self-taught. I was trained by a scammer who apparently was a wrestler, but I don't know. He knew some stuff, but then he scammed me out of $2,000. So that's why I got burned real bad. And I'm not afraid to always learn. And there it is. So
you know what? You always learn every day. My motto in life is, I can always learn something new. My motto in life has always been that I'm always willing to learn. There's always somebody that's more knowledgeable out there, certainly better looking, certainly with less mutton chops, less hair, and I want. It was funny. Well, I'm actually working on my stand-up comedy because I'm doing such a bad job these days on Sportswire that I should try the stand-up comedy scene. I've worked with Anthony as well, and Anthony's been on here, and certainly Anthony, is definitely somebody that when he talks, people listen.
Yeah.
There is several other opportunities that want you around James Taylor. What is the next step? We're going to come back to that for sure. I honestly liked you with the feud with the Prophet more than Anthony's. Well, the Prophet, I think, had more of a story that kind of was more consistent in a short amount of time.
Yep.
Yes, we're going to get to that question. I promise you. Want to say hello to my buddy, Mr. Brad Coleman. Brad was on the show kind of like you. It was funny. Brad was in your chair last Friday. He had like 28 people. He had 30 people. And it was kind of like the same show. It was almost like Brad is like the UK version of you, James Taylor. I mean, I would love to see Brad Coleman on the Nemesis Sessions one day because Brad's another guy with a big following. He's also a vlogger. He's also a podcaster. He's a great talker. I think Brad Coleman is one of the best talkers in the UK right now. In fact, I even hear he's doing such a good job right now that he might even go to do some commentary real soon. So Brad
Really?
Coleman. Yeah, Brad Coleman, up and comer. He trained, he worked for a company, a scam company, basically a bunch of scammers called Nonstop Action Wrestling. Guy who ran the company basically booked himself as world champion, snorts snow, has snow dust up his butt, basically ran the company into the ground. And guys like Brad Coleman, who built the company and certainly made it to kind of like what you've done with the companies you've worked for, in different places. Brad's definitely a guy that kind of like you, and I'd love to see a show with you and Brad and Alan Michaels versus Sean Jovi. Well, you know what? I certainly, as an advocate for Alan Michaels, say if there's a will and a way, let's do it. I am down for some training. Looks like TBW needs a new Joker now that Ledger is gone. Profit Story was better because, well, good point. I agree about that. Definitely agree. All right, so you know what? Certainly, there's a lot of people that are kind of asking some of the same questions. So let's get to it here. And obviously, everybody knows right now that you're a free agent. You've touched upon it here briefly, and there has been wrestler after wrestler that has called you out. There's even been a company out there in your home state of Alabama. I've heard different things that they've said. And, you've even had, obviously, Michaels and Davidson talked about you going pro. Nicholas Crenton, the new Messiah, challenged you to a match. I mean, Soldier and Omen have been dogging you for a year. And, there's always about TBW. You still technically are a free agent. And, the Nemesis James Taylor, I'm giving you the opportunity now to kind of address your future and address what 2024 could potentially look like for you if there's a return to the ring in the near and distant future.
Well, let's go ahead and cut right to the chase. Yes, James Taylor will be in a ring, as a matter of fact, for 2024. When? I can't tell you. Sooner than later, hopefully. But one thing is for certain, is that all these guys who've laid out these challenges, I'm going to address the first one, and that's Mr. Not Mr., but AWL over here in
The
Alabama.
Alliance Wrestling League. Yep, your home state.
Look, so far the deal that they presented to me was not good enough, and they obviously, the owner wasn't really particularly wanting me to be there for my reasons. He wanted to be there for his reasons.
So why do you think that was, though? It's an upstart company that, has certainly gained some exposure. They've been on here, and they've obviously recruited some professional wrestlers that are trained, and they've obviously had some guys, Hillbilly Tilly's certainly been vocal for you. AJ Morgan, their champion, certainly addressed you on Instagram yesterday. You got Dylan Andrews, a war criminal. But I would think, I don't know if by now I'm sure you've heard what I said, but I would think, a fledgling company that's, certainly getting a ring soon, a company that, is certainly gaining some steam. They've gotten thousands of views on their show, and they kind of seem to be, really taking shots at companies that you've worked for, TBW, and, they've addressed them and said that one person, Commissioner Beast, didn't ask permission to come out to Dylan Andrews' music, and then there was some issues there with Jack Delta, and Jack Delta didn't come there, and, this is a company that seems, oh, go ahead, you want to say something? No, because I was about to say something, but go ahead.
You're fine. Two things. I'm going to do a pro and a con to this situation.
Okay, go for it.
Number one, the door is open for as far as James Taylor. I mean, it's not a definite no. I'm still open to the idea of going to AWL and working with a company like that, helping them build from the bottom and go up. I'd love to do that. I'd have no problem doing that, especially when they get a ring. Right now, unfortunately, they don't have a ring. They got some great talent there. I'd love to work with them one day. Never say never. It could happen. The fact is, it's a matter of coming down to the owner on whether they want me there or not. So my door is open. I'm not saying it'll never happen. Anything can happen. But number two, if I ever do show up, their little arrogant champion or their little arrogant ADT, who's apparently related to CJ Black, I guess he's just as annoying as him. But anyways, he needs to get his big mouth shut because he thinks he's the backyard king or whatever the hell he's calling himself these days. The kid's got talent, but he's not James Taylor. And if he's not careful, I'm not saying I'm going to be the one to do it, but there's going to be somebody that's going to be bigger, faster, stronger, that's going to come in there and knock his head off. And if it ain't me, I promise it'll be somebody else if he keeps running his mouth and he keeps burning the bridges before he even gets there. He keeps burning the bridges with his little arrogant attitude. He ain't going to get far in this business. His whole career will probably be over after 2024 if he keeps going down the same road he's going. Hillbilly, if you're watching, and anybody else out there in AWL, get to ADT and you let him know that that's a warning. It's not just a warning from me because I see bullshit a mile away. Maybe that's going to be my new catchphrase. Who knows? Especially for
Well,
2024.
I have a
Keep
follow
burning
up
your
on that.
bridges, son.
Okay, I have a wrestler. I got advice from a wrestler. I don't want to say the pro wrestler that gave me this advice, and he's coming on the show this week, so that's a clue for you. But this wrestler told me specifically, said, Tom, when there's emotions and kind of a personal clash or something at stake, that's a good thing in the world of wrestling. We're starting to see that a little bit with Cody, The Rock, and Roman. And I would think with this guy, ADT, obviously he's come on here the past 7 or 8 months. He's been impressive. But I would think for a company like his, I think of your name, your massive following, the matches you've had in the biggest stage with the biggest names, and a company in a state you physically live in. Now, again, it's not my company. The owner can do whatever he wants. But as a businessman and myself, I would certainly do everything possible to roll out that red carpet for you, James Taylor, similar to some guy named Eric Bischoff back in 1994 when he had a company, a struggling company at the time called WCW, that was forever chasing the tail of the dog, then known as the WWF. And he had a chance to call his shot and shoot his shot. And he did that by signing a guy you probably heard of named Hulk Hogan. And that forever changed WCW's fortunes. And I would think that AWL, now again, the owner can do whatever he wants. I like the company. I like the content. But if it was me as the owner, and if it was in the business of doing business, AWL signs you. Everybody right now might talk about TBW as one of the premier companies, but maybe, just maybe, AWL would be going head to head with TBW if you have legitimately one of the biggest stars, not only in the yard, but in this sport, in a man with 103,000 followers alone in yourself. So that's me. Obviously, the owner can do whatever he wants. Obviously, you've kind of talked about the fact that owners, have their own prerogatives. And there was an owner for a company that Brad Coleman worked for called Nonstop Action Wrestling. And that individual booked himself to be the world champion of a company that went out of business. So there actually is some truth about what you're saying. Now, I like AWL a lot. Hold on. I like AWL a lot, and I enjoy the product. And ADT is going to be in our Hall of Fame. Hillbilly 2 is going to be in our Hall of Fame. But if it was me, I would sign you tomorrow. I would rip up all my storylines, and I would just promote the match that the people want to see. Because we know Jack Delta's not going there. Whatever it is between the owner and Jack Delta, that's a cross they have to bear. But I'm live right now in the womb with a man that has generated this much reaction on YouTube. You do what's best for business. Just like how WWE, quote unquote, changed course and having Cody and Roman at Mania. You want to have your own Mania match, especially with your first live show coming up in a little over a month. You have the match that the people want to see, and I'm sure your locker room would want to see in you and ADT. In fact, you don't even have to do it for a championship. Let's have a straight up match. If ADT's the guy and he's should be the name of BYW instead of ADT should be BYW instead, and he's going to kill you in the ring, let's see it. If not, and you have your 25 years to be able to go out there and run circles around him, let's see that too. But let's see the match that the people want. Let's see the match that'll get people talking. Let's get a match that, TBW really would maybe pay attention to AWL. Not kind of giving them snickers and kind of going back and forth in a YouTube chat and they kind of look at it and dismiss it. If you really want to compete with places like TBW, to me, you sign the guy that's been in their main events. It's pretty simple business. WCW did it once upon a time when they signed the likes of Hulk Hogan. They signed the likes of Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. They signed the likes of the Macho Man Randy Savage and Rowdy Roddy Piper. I mean, it's pretty simple.
But guys like ADT, he wants to act like he's something special, but clearly he doesn't want none, and that's okay.
Do you think it's because? Let me ask you a question. You can answer this any way you want. Do you think it's because he wants to say he'll beat everybody up, kill everybody, but really deep down, he doesn't want to wrestle yourself and Jack Delta or, you know, even an Anthony Steele or an Omen Black. No, let me finish. Does he really not? Does he not want to wrestle an Omen Black or a Soldier? Because you can say what you want about Omen and Soldier. Come on, I'm here. There are certain companies that don't want to work with the IMF, and that's fine. They're welcome to do anything they want. But they, at least to their credit, come on. If somebody challenges them, they want to talk to them. So ultimately, I'm asking you: do you think that ADT, does he really want outside competition, or is he maybe saying, you know what, I kind of want to be the top, and I don't really want to give what the people want to see? I mean, what do you think on something? Again, this is not my opinion. This is what's perceived.
He doesn't know what it's like to have to pay dues because he's in a company that he helped build, and he don't want nobody from an outside source like me or Jack Delta or just to name a few to come in there, because we would show him up. We'd probably put him on blast to show him exactly what it's like to be in this business, and he won't know what to do with himself because then he'll feel ashamed in front of his own club. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, Tom, because I mean, if all he's got to do is just say, give me a contract and say, hey, you know what, James, why don't you come on down? Let's you and me have a match because I want to go with one of the best, respectfully. And I'd respect get in the ring and we'd fight. Win, lose, or draw, it wouldn't matter. The fact is, in 2024, in any match I've ever had, it doesn't matter about winning to me anymore. It doesn't matter about losing.
I said in the speech to induct you, it's not about wins and losses. You're a man that draws attention. Just like Brad Coleman, you draw attention. And to me, I would love, as a fan, not just leaving out any who I like and who I don't like. As a fan, I want to see you back in the ring. I personally, I think in your home state, to be back home and the potential to build a company and to be there and work with guys, I would love to see you in AJ Morgan square. I would love to see you in Dylan Andrews square off, or Victor Thorne or Tyler James or Christopher Gates. I mean, so many of these great talents that Christopher James, Tyler Gates, I'm sorry about that. But the point is that I would love to see you square off with some of their big names, because it gives their company a chance to say, you know what? Okay, I want to watch AWL. I want to watch them and I want to believe in them. I'm here for All Wrestling Matters. That's why I would love to see it.
Let me ask you a question.
You ask me anything you want.
Not just AWL. What about a place like IMF or a place like ROEW? Maybe a place.
I think you and CJ Black have had history. I think you and him have had a lot of history. Jason Storm used to work there. You could replace Jason Storm. I mean, there's a void there.
James Taylor and DKW, James Taylor IMF, ROEW, and so on and so forth.
Or even back home in TBW.
Back in TBW, going back kicking ass.
Season 8's next month. I mean, the door hasn't been closed there.
But I'm not going to be exclusive to one company. I'm going to be wherever people are going to want me the most and people are willing to have matches with me. Let's go to that guy, Dark Kron, who's my age. Dark Kron,
great guy, Dark Kron,
constantly calling me out. Dark Kron is a guy who respects me, and I respect him. I've seen his matches with Omen and Soldier, and they've been badass. I love it. That's why I want to face all three of them. I want to face somebody like Omen.
Well, you know what? Can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? Now, DKW, right? Those are great guys. You've had them on your show. I just inducted them in the Hall of Fame here on Sportswire Radio. If there's a group of guys that I root for, leave aside Alabama, leave aside even TBW. If there was another company that I would say, you know what, James Taylor could help build and put them further on the map, and somebody that I would root for would be Dark Kron, Matthew Forsaken, and Joe Stone and DKW. I mean, you could do some really special things there, and that's a company. And I think that those guys out there in Bremen, Ohio, would really appreciate you. And I think it'd be a lot of fun if there was a will and a way to get you into Ohio. 100%. I would love to see. And I also want to add, if there was a way to do it, because I'm gonna break sort of the fourth wall for a minute. We're going to have a match here live on Friday night where I'm going to be calling a match. So you want to see how bad of a job I do in calling a match? You get your chance to do so. It's a joke. It's going to be Joe Stone and Freddie Daniels. I'm going to call that match. But you know what? If there was a way to get you and Dark Kron in that ring, I'll tell you what, as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce, I will broadcast that match live here on Sportswire Radio. I will broadcast it live. I will call the match. I'll promote it. And if there's anything else I can do to make that match happen, I'll do it. How do you like that?
That's fine with me. Talk with Dark Cronin, the owners of DKW.
I know they're coming on Friday. They're going to be here Friday, and I'm going to mention that.
There it is. Let's mention it and talk about it.
Those guys, that would be a company I would love to see you go to.
And I'd like to have matches with all those guys. That'd be great. And we cannot mention or leave out the fact of Soldier GP.
Oh, IMF's a no-brainer. IMF, you and IMF, that's a natural storyline. For 1 year, we've been talking about you, Omen, Soldier. I mean, that to me writes in the story. But I don't know what is closer for you from Alabama. Is it Iowa or Ohio? That might be something you might want to.
I think it's Iowa. I think.
Oh, you know what? You should go to. I would love to see you at IMF in a 400-seat venue. The tickets that you could sell with your following. I mean, forget about it.
It'd sell out.
I will. If you go to IMF, I will personally buy a ticket and give it away to somebody to watch. They can watch you in the ring. So I've already endorsed their shows on IMF.
We got to get you to come one day so you can watch us all and watch me in the ring. You know, that way.
Well, I'm good. Well, first offer is you wrestle in DKW, or even if you want to wrestle in IMF. Well, IMF wants to sell tickets. They're in a 400-seat venue. Let's support our brothers. Let's make All Wrestling Matters go viral and support them in a live show. Okay. But if you were to go to Ohio, I promise I will do whatever I could to make that match happen. And I would stream the match, call it, promote it. So I just want to say, I would love to see you in DKW. What about, though, before I get to more comments, a lot of people want to talk to you, but, what about going the independent route? Shane Davidson and Alan Michaels would go on the route. Is that something you've considered? Because a lot of people say, you know what? Stop wasting your time in the yard. Stop wasting your time in these places. What about that?
I've talked about it a while back, and it's actually something that's still happening. I'm actually in the midst of been training a little bit, and that is New South Pro Wrestling. I am still to New South Pro Wrestling. Everything's in the works, but it does not take away from the fact of me being able to still do stuff in the yard, because I have my ways of talking and what I can negotiate with, and that's with any business, because I'm a businessman myself, Tom. And just like what you said earlier, I mean, if you owned a company and you were struggling with whatever, and you had the chance to have James Taylor on or somebody of my
said it 9 months ago, the first time you came on the show. If I'm starting a company, you're one of the guys I'm building around. I'm building around you because of what you know in this sport, the knowledge that you can pass along to young talent, the abilities that you've learned from promoting yourself, the social media following. Even I have pro wrestlers come on this show and they don't know how to promote themselves like you. There's a lot that you bring to the table that isn't just about championships or wins and losses. And that's why if I was starting the ingredients to cook the meal, you're one of the first ingredients I need.
So let me ask you.
You ask me anything you want.
Your eyes are wide open when it comes to a situation like this. And thank you for the acknowledgement when it comes to that. Not a Roman Reigns pun, but you get what I'm talking about. It's how come people like you can see that, and you get guys up there in the northern states like DKW, ROEW, IMF that actually want to wrestle me and have matches with me and storylines and stuff, which is great. How come other companies oversee that following and that energy that I can bring, and how to promote and how to sell, and they're just like, well, we'll just put you under the road. You're just a name.
Well, I have the answer for you. So here's my answer to that. Companies like DKW, IMF, ROEW, in my opinion, are in it for the right reasons. They're in it because they love this sport and they want to be able to go out there and live their dreams and do something special. What DKW and IMF is doing in a thing called Summer Bash is trying to unite people from all over the sport. The job that those two companies are doing and what they've done in the sacrifice from their lives, their families, their jobs to go out and represent this sport, especially DKW and IMF. I want to say this here as the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce. I would cut off my left arm for those guys to help them and support them. And that's why I'm endorsing the event on Friday. I am giving a donation for a ticket because those guys are in it for the right reason. Now, to answer your question on, let's say, some other companies that you may not go to, like an AWL, anywhere else, I have to give you the answer. It's politics. A lot of politics in wrestling. And there's a lot of people that want to book themselves a certain way, and and that's fine. They have a vision of doing things. And unfortunately, in the wrestling world, and this comes from somebody who, let me repeat this, I've worked in the real political world. So I've seen politics and I've seen what it's like. So when I hear all this stuff you asked me about, I've lived it since I'm out of high school. So I know already that the reason that it may not work for you in AWL, or you may not come back to TBW, again, no disrespect to those companies, but the simple answer is it's politics. And a lot of it is in the yard or in the independents. People work the same matches, the same storylines. And that's, again, I'm not knocking that. One other company I would praise would be XCW for you to go to, but XCW I know is a little further a ways out. I think that would be a good company for you to go to as well. I'd like to mention them. And I'd also like to mention Cameron Cage one more time, because I would love to see you and Cameron Cage run it back. But again, he's a free agent. You're a free agent. And I don't know where and when that would happen. And, you have a lot of question marks. So a lot of people want to talk. Let me get to them.
Nicholas Crenson, let me answer that while you get to those.
Yes, do that. Yeah, do that. Yep.
Nicholas Crenson, I officially accept your challenge to a match. A match could happen this year. I'd be totally down 100% for it. I'm not afraid of you. I ain't worried about you. Maybe I could teach you something in the ring. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you'll know that.
Oh, you took light tubes first before he did.
I did. I've taken light tubes. I've taken steel chair shots. I've had my head split open from side to side. I mean, I've done it all. The only thing I haven't done in this business, thank goodness, knock on wood, is actually break a bone. I've been one of the fortunate few that's never broken a bone. And a lot of these guys who do what they do, they're not doing it exactly the right way, because they're like, I'm hurting already. I ain't going to be able to do it when I'm old. Well, when you get to almost 40 years old and you can say that you can still get in the ring, that says a lot. I've made it this far, 25 years in this business. And Crenson, I'd love to have a match with you.
All right. Well, you know what? I got a lot of people that want to talk to you, so let me try to get to them. Thank you, Brad Coleman. I'm going to see you next month. I want to say hello to my buddy D'Angelo LaFlame. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, keep talking. Give me 1 second.
D'Angelo, while you do that, D'Angelo LaFlame, I'm always down to face anybody. D'Angelo's going to be back here this following Sunday, so I look forward to that. Hot take, Alan Michaels and D'Angelo LaFlame, tag team duo, call them the trendiest guys in wrestling. That's a good one there. I'll come back to that one. Would you ever be interested in showing up to RUW, if I get up and running again? Great question. I would certainly let the Nemesis come back to that. I've already been calling them that. Thank you, Jules. My Wrestleverse buddy. The world title needs a formidable challenger. Too many kings. I lost count on kings. How you doing, ADT? ADT is here. I'm going to let Mr. Taylor come back to that. Cage versus Taylor part 2. Yeah. I definitely think that would be something we just talked about. Why can you be a king when you can be a god? That's Omen quoting Eminem. Thank you. You know what I mean? Armageddon, Shane Davidson. So what you're saying, Tom, is that James needs to grow a mustache and say brother instead of kid all the time. Well, you know what? I'll let him come back and answer that for you. How about that? If they physically live in the same state, it'd be unfortunate to not do it. I have too many bookings and not enough time to do AWL. Out of character, I love ADT's shit talk. Yeah, ADT is awesome. Listen, ADT is going into my Hall of Fame. ADT is a phenomenal talent. As a wrestling fan, I'd like to see ADT and you. I mean, and I love Jack Delta. We've honored him. So Jack Delta's speaking the truth. Listen, and I said it. I'd like to see you basically kind of fill what Jack Delta could do there. Come back to Peter Richards. You need to grow a mustache and say brother. Basically, he's giving you a Hulk Hogan impersonation. Let's get to the wrestlers, not to the promo guys, because the wrestlers, I only got so much time to talk with. Would you want to go to RUW for Alexander Kelly?
If he's got a company up and running with a few people in a ring and some ropes and stuff like that, maybe.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to try to get him on. I got opening on Tuesday night show, so if he wants to hang out Tuesday night, get in touch. My buddy Brad Coleman, I'm a man who's burned a bridge or two, but you know what? Sometimes those bridges were worn and rightfully burned down. After all, the phoenix rises from the ashes, and boy, oh boy, 2024, I'm rising. I'm telling you, you and Brad Coleman would be some podcast, Nemesis Sessions. That would be some show. I would love you to get Brad Coleman on your show. I'm telling you, Brad Coleman, I'm telling you, your advocate, Brad Coleman, he will get you some followers. And you have a massive following list already, but I'm telling you, Brad Coleman would be one you need to find a way to book him, and I'll definitely get you in touch with him. James Taylor, much love, bro. Can't wait to be in the ring with you. Might not be this year because congratulations. He's going to be in dad in August, by the way. Shane is going to be a dad, so he's going to be playing daddy duties rather than wrestling duties. So thank you for that, and I look forward to inducting Shane here very soon. Crazy world where Hogan is currently seen as better than Brock and Vince in the moment. Yeah, if you would have said that a year ago, people would have said you're nuts. But yeah, Hogan, didn't he save somebody's life last week or something like that, 2 weeks ago?
Something like that.
However, I'm a changed man. I'll say the injury truly grounded and humbled me. Yeah, I think it did. We saw that last Friday. And if you want to go back on our show, go on my YouTube channel. It's Sportswire Radio 6579. Brad Coleman was one of the best ones we've done in a while. Well, before you came on, of course. When I get a ring and more stars, do you see yourself being a part of RBW? You kind of answered that already pretty much.
Yeah.
James, you and me would steal the show. ADT saving his words for the 23rd. But I'm happy he's doing that because you know what? That's a great way for people to tune in. Great businessman there. I'm excited about that. ADT, we're going to induct him, and then he's going to basically talk and give his responses to what you said and others. So that's a good call, ADT. That's why I'm inducting you in the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the kind words. Yes, we got to get to do a. It's funny. What's funny that Jack Delta said this? It's funny he said this because, I wasn't going to say it, but I'm going to say it. Stay tuned. I can promise you that I'm going to find a way to do something on Sportswire to recognize some of the stars here. So I promise you, I got something underneath my sleeve that you're going to see soon. And it could be involving you, James Taylor. Could be involving Jack Delta. Could be involving Omen and Soldier, Darkron, Nicholas Crenton. Just stay tuned. I promise you, it's going to be big. No cap. If Tom had a company, should I promote him? Yeah, Peter Richards is the man. Peter Richards, I love his podcast. He does a great job talking, and I have his full anything I could do to support Peter. Anybody else? They're on my radio station, sportswireradio.org. I would get behind that. Well, you know what? Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Just stay tuned. I promise you. I think I can do it. I know I can do it because I built the radio. So if I can build a radio station, I can definitely do it. So stay tuned. I promise you. Yes, all wrestling matters. Hello to my buddy Ron Franklin in Pennsylvania. A lot of people want to talk to you, James. We could go all night, maybe. Much love. Yes, all wrestling matters. 39 and flipped off a 12-foot cage. Yep, that match he did with Omen. And they did it in the rain. They just kept going and going and going. Taking a break from the Dyke Burst to check in. I want to say hello to our buddy, the Mr. Jason Storm, the wild card. I hope he and his beautiful wife are doing well, and along with his daughter. And God bless you, my friend. And I hope to see you soon. And look forward to that. Except Crenton's match, but I never get a never say never, kid. That's from Soldier. Soldier's going to be here Friday. I'm going to mention that. And also, yep.
Soldier. Well. There's Mr. Big Cheese, the tribal cheese.
Yes, the man. I keep telling you, you got to get him on your show. You and him, and he's got a big following on YouTube. He's friends with John Cena. He's friends with Bobby Lashley. He's friends with Rhea Ripley. He's friends with TBK. He's friends with Matt Damon. He's friends with David Beckham. He's even friends with Hulk Hogan. He's friends with DDP. He knows everybody. And get this, he's even got his own action figure. The man has his own action figure. If I was starting a podcast and the first two guests I would want would be James Taylor and the Tribal Cheese. But guess what? You have a show with nearly 41,000 people subscribed to it. Taff_Taylor on YouTube. Go give him a sub. And I would want to see that podcast for the ages with you and the Tribal Cheese. Think about it. Once upon a time, there was a thing called the Mega Maniacs. There was once upon a time called the Allied Powers. There was once upon a time D-Generation X. There was once upon a time called the New World Order, the Four Horsemen, Evolution. You think about you, the Tyrant King, and the Chet of the Table, who we acknowledge on a podcast? That one I would listen to on loop 24 hours a day. Make it happen.
It'd be damn sure entertaining to listen to.
I'll be listening to it, and I can't wait till it happens.
Hey, stay tuned.
Tuesday night. I'm going to see you Tuesday night. Do you see yourself going pro? Well, you kind of answered that.
Pro wrestling, yes. I like that. There's a guy there.
By the way, told you, I'm going to get into, after we're off the air, James Taylor, I'm going to give you Mr. Coleman's Instagram and you're going to make that happen. I told you, he's going to be good. He's going to be a live one, a real live one.
Okay.
James, what are your thoughts on the shutdown of WEF?
WEF was a company that was working with TBW, but apparently
Yes,
things didn't work out and it shut down. So Alexander Kelly is a young guy. Fun fact:
I know him.
loves wrestling. You can
I
tell
know
he's
him.
got a passion for it. He's one of those kids that I would. He's one of those wrestlers basically that he's got a mind for it, but he doesn't know what to do with it yet because he's young. I would take him. He'd be one of those I'd take under my wing to show him everything that I could, so that way he can evolve and then become his
Well,
own.
speaking
And
of veterans,
there it is.
and Hall of Famers, our third member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, he was the third person inducted. Justin Parsley, one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions, the first real wrestler, and he did a phenomenal job in his match that we saw that took place at XCW's A Cold Day in Hell as he successfully retained his Tag Team Championships against the team of Tommy the Man Merriman, who's squaring off with Soldier GP in Iowa on Saturday, and Brady Branson. He's going to be back in the ring once again against Brady Branson and James Cerebral. He says evening and good morning, guys. And one day, if there was ever a way to get to you in Indiana with Justin Parsley, that would be another dream match. And by the way, Justin Parsley, another guy you should get on your podcast. Justin Parsley is one of the most, I would say, interesting talkers in this sport. He's got one of the best minds. He's a great storyteller. He is still great in the ring. He's got a great look. He's a Hall of Famer. I like him. He's our first real wrestler. He's our first real Hall of Famer with REEL. And I think he'd be a great guest one time on the Nemesis sessions. And he's got a big following, and he does a great job apparently at a bar called Kendall's Tavern in Indiana. Give them a cheap plug. And he's got a big following on YouTube and Instagram at Parsley's, and would love to see that one day. And also, I appreciate that. He gives you congratulations, can confirm that the Tribal Cheese is a hell of an interview. He cares not only about the sport of wrestling, but the people behind the gimmicks. Truly a great man. He is a damn great man. He is one of the greatest people that I have ever had the pleasure to know in my life, the Tribal Cheese. He is one of the greatest people to have ever come on Sportswire Radio. He is one of the greatest people to have ever been in this sport called wrestling. He is going to be a Hall of Famer in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame very soon because whether he likes it or not, he is damn well a definition of a Hall of Famer. And I cannot wait till one of the greatest interviews of your career, James Taylor, takes place on the Nemesis sessions with James Taylor, with chapter like 78 when it becomes to you and the Tribal Chiefs, because I promise you that will be one for the ages. You got Brad Coleman after that. Then you're going to get Justin Parsley after that, because Justin Parsley can talk like there's no tomorrow. And he knows a lot about Omen Black and Soldier GP because he's wrestled them. He's actually wrestled Omen Black and Soldier GP. He knows them. So he can share some war stories with you when it comes to Omen and Soldier. He's had his own dealings with them. So he could tell you all about it. That'll be another great plug here. So obviously, all great stuff here. And obviously, Mr. Taylor, before we move on to a few other closing things and closing thoughts, is there anything else that you'd like to get off your chest today? Because so many people have just, I mean, I got to tell you, this has been one of the most memorable shows I've done on Sportswire Radio in a really, really long time. Well, since Brad Coleman came on last week.
How many other people? How many other people can you have on here that can have a steady viewership of at least 20 to 21 people?
Brad Coleman, the Tribal Cheese, IMF, Chris
Yeah.
Levitt, Necro Daddy, and we had a Pez guy come on. We actually had a Pez collector on Tuesday.
Oh, interesting.
You might have liked him,
I saw a
actually.
glimpse of that. I think I
Yeah.
saw that.
It was funny. Yeah, you know what? I had people message me like, wow, you ever considered doing like a Howard Stern like show? In fact, it was such an interesting show, real quick, on the Pez guy, that actually he wants me to come over to his house on Long Island and like do a Pez interview live. So we'll do live Pez coverage. But yeah, you are one of the handful of people that can come on Sportswire and command this type of credits. IMF, Omen and Soldier do it. Brad Coleman, Tribal Cheese. I would say James Barris of CCW and Chris Levitt, Necro Daddy. And you. That's the guys.
If when we can all get together, maybe hopefully this year, and we can pull you to where you're there too, Tom, I think it would be how great would this sound? Tom Bryce, the Reverend Tom Bryce, the host of the Sports Report, doing a live podcast in a ring with fellow wrestlers. That would be interesting.
Well, I mean, they have, listen, what they have in the UK, and the Tribal Cheese will know about this. They have a thing what's called For the Love of Wrestling, and they get a guy kind of similar to me. His name is Chris Brooker. He has been involved with a lot of wrestlers, and what they do is they let him speak with a number of wrestlers that come on in a tour, and they talk about, their journey, their career, whatever else it might be. So, yeah, I mean, it would definitely be something else. We're going to stream our first ever live match this Friday with Joe Stone and Freddie Daniels, so we're going to do that. I also want to put it out there that we want to actually stream more stuff on Sportswire Radio, and I'm also working on something that I'm going to still keep under my sleeve, but it's something that I actually want to create. Maybe I'll talk to you about it off the air because I don't want to say it on the air yet, but I have something pretty big, so we're going to definitely do that. But yeah, there's a lot of things we want to do in the future.
I can definitely help you with any content creation ideas you have. Just run them by
Well,
me.
this one's actually not a content creation. You're going to be, when I tell it to you, I'll tell it to you off the air. I promise I'll tell it to you off the air. But I'm down. Yes, absolutely. And D'Angelo's back here, son. And D'Angelo's a great young rising talent. And I want to give him a lot of praise.
He's a guy that wants to come on my podcast too, but the last conversation I had with him, I know he likes me. I like him. He's good talent. I told him I'd love to have him on the show, but I think he needs to ask his company, Resurrection Wrestling. And I'm going to go ahead and point this out because you wanted me to get some stuff off my chest. I'm going to
absolutely feel free.
So, Resurrection Wrestling has obviously some type of a problem with me or not wanting to be anywhere associated with me because of the fact that I know Anthony Steele. I'm not brothers with Anthony Steele. Anthony Steele don't live with me. I barely talked to the son.
He didn't live with you? I thought he lived with that one kid.
Never lived with me. But still, beside the point. But because I was associated with him in some form or fashion, I'm not allowed in any Resurrection Wrestling stuff. And that was what I was told. Not saying it's true, but the owner needs to say something different if he wants to back it up. Not throwing shade at them, but it's the fact that I told D'Angelo, out of respect to him and the company, if he wants to come onto my show, he needs to ask the company if he can. And apparently, I never heard nothing back, so I don't know what the deal is. Maybe that's up in the air. And as far as getting other things off my chest, Soldier GP, it's going to happen. It's just, think about it. What was it like with Rock and Cena? They did it the night after WrestleMania 27, first time, the biggest of all time. They said, first time ever, 1 year in advance, the match is going to happen. The Rock versus John Cena, once in a lifetime. Well, think about it, kid. It's been a year build up. It's still building. Once in a lifetime. Soldier GP, the guy who does the stunner up in the Northwest, the guy who's doing venues with 400 people now, all of a sudden, you've come up and you're doing the things that you do. And then finally, face to face with the legend of the backyard himself, the Tyrant King, the be-all, end-all in this business. Nobody can stop me, and I dare anybody watching this to tell me different. Soldier GP versus the Nemesis James Taylor will happen in 2024. I can promise you that it will happen. Whether you want to take my word for it or not, promise you it will happen. And at the end of that match, you will see Soldier's fat head, his 10-gallon jug head right here, and I will turn his lights out. I promise you it'll be a battle of the stunners. It'll be a battle of the tough guys. It'll be two ultimate forces, non-stoppable. It right there clashed at it, and it will happen. Special referee, who knows? I mean, I don't know. What do you think of that? There's a little.
I would love. Listen, I have Soldier here Friday. Soldier's always here. I'm going to ask him this Friday, and I would love to see that. Listen, I want to see you back in the ring. What have I been saying these last several weeks? I want to see you back in the ring. I think there's unfinished business after what happened with you and JWoww. Whether it happens in TBW, I don't know. Whether it happens in AWL, I don't know. Whether it happens in DKW, I don't know, anywhere else, or IMF. I wanted to see you back in the ring. I just want to see you as a fan get back out there. I've already said my piece. As a businessman, I'd build a company around you. I know as a businessman, look, I've built up an internet radio station. I've been doing, these stuff for 5 years. I've been successful in other ventures outside of my life in doing this, that I know how to build things. And I would be a guy that I would want you on here. But let me get to Ethan before I get to closing thoughts here. 2 questions. One, what was the toughest opponent of your career? And do you have a favorite moment in your career so far?
Oh, yeah. Toughest opponent I've ever had? Probably would be my old rival from back in the TWF days, Phoenix.
Yeah, you and Phoenix, which go on his YouTube page, Taff_Taylor.
He was literally, and he's completely retired out of the backyard. He only did it for that short time, but he was such a hell of a talent. I trained him when we were younger because he watched me when I was 14 starting, and he's like 3 years younger than me, and he was too young to do it on the trampoline. Finally, he got a little older. He wanted to keep going, and he merged. Basically, his style is literally a mix of Shawn Michaels and Jeff Hardy.
Yep.
Put them together, you get Phoenix.
Darkron almost. That was Darkron's two influences right there.
There you go. That's exactly how Phoenix is, and he lives up in Washington State now. And I know that he's seen a lot of my stuff, and I still talk with him. As far as getting him into the ring again, I mean, he's got a family, but he said that he would love to have one more match, and it'd be with me. I mean, never say never. I could possibly pull him out of retirement for one more match one day. Who knows? But beside the point, he was always my toughest and greatest opponent, even to this day. Still, no offense to anybody yet, but it's because he pushed me to my limits. He really brought out the best in me at that time, and I feel like I still haven't had the best brought out in me yet since I've been in the ring, since I've been back over the past 2 years. I'm waiting for the guy to bring me out. Prophet was great. He really was. But I think what happened was I brought out the best in him. He brought out a lot in me, but I think I brought out the best in him. I'm waiting for somebody to bring out the best in me.
And Prophet, you really, after that, with the Prophet Jay Wild, he went into the main event scene. Really, you kind of made him go almost like get over the hurdle. You kind of, in a way, elevated him, which is what a wrestler is supposed to do, is to elevate those they work with. Cameron Cage, listen, you worked with Cameron Cage, and right afterwards, he was in main events in Resurrection. I mean, listen, you the people, Anthony Steele, you and him. I mean, look at where Anthony went. Look at where the wars you had with Titan. When he was obviously established already, but the point is, in your career, those legendary wars with G-Force, JD, Kyle McGuile, all those guys, you helped elevate them. And you're impressed. I know about those names, by the way. I know you're impressed about that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You did it.
You always ask, did you watch my match before? What did you think? Well, not only did I watch your matches, I literally had you on loop.
You were studying, you were doing your homework, and that I appreciate it. But I mean, let's face it, this is gonna sound arrogant as fuck, maybe. I don't know. I'm sorry if I said that. Part of my French, you can beep it out later. But I helped TBW grow. TBW had a little bit of a following, but let's face it, two things helped them grow to where they're at on almost 7,000 subscribers now. I think they're at 7,000. I don't know.
6,700 when Titan and Allen came on here. Yeah.
Two things helped them get to that level. One, me, and that was at least half of that. And then the other one is, not throwing shade at it, but if you look at their following on TikTok, literally almost every single follower that they have, if you read all the comments of all the little videos they have, it's literally just like they've become a parody of themselves. And people are watching them because of the parody. Now, there are people that watch for the matches, but they like their certain particular matches. Like Jules, she's a big fan of Titan. There's nothing wrong with that. Cool. But kudos to her. Kudos to him. There's a lot of people that liked me.
Boy, poor Jules there. Poor Jules. I mean, poor Jules there. I guess she loves her Titan.
That you can like. Why you like Titan, I don't know. But
I don't know. That's Jules' thing. Maybe Jules one day should come on the platform and explain why she has an affinity for him. But that's obviously that's up to them to decide. But listen, I like TBW a lot. I want to put it out that we recognize them. We've honored them. Allen's in my Hall of Fame. Titan, we've acknowledged. Russell Cooper, I think, is a phenomenal talent. I still think that Fat Asian's a great talent there. You have some other guys that are still there. So, there's no question that your following on TikTok is great. Also, let me say hello to a few other people. C Money, our buddy from ROBW, had a great match with Jack Delta recently. How you doing, my friend? And nice to see you, C Money. C Money might be the one person of the Black ADT family you'd probably like. Soldier, oh man, I can't wait for Friday. I can't wait for the 23rd with ADT, and I can't wait for this coming Friday with Soldier GP. And I
just come on here, GP, and just why don't you rebuttal right now? Why don't you?
Well, because honestly, I'm out of breath right now.
Okay,
I'm out of breath. I'm coming up out of breath. But the wannabe hardcore king, he was our hardcore king of Sportswire Radio. So, and I do think that Atomic Titan has his own issues with Jimmy Controversy to worry about, Mikey Anarchy, Mac 10. So I'll let him obviously figure out those things. Before I get to closing thoughts, is there anything else you want to get off your chest before we move on to this, historic evening? And I I've learned that 2024 is going to be the best yet year, my fellow operatives, for James Taylor, our Tyrant King. But is there anything else you'd like to get off your chest before we sign off for the evening?
No, just if you haven't, check me out.
Have you been working on the gym lately? Look like you're working on those arms lately. Maybe you saw the Cameron Cage or the AJ Morgan.
I've been doing some training. I've been working on my training, and I'm getting into my ring shape, and the only way I'm really going to get into real ring shape is to get back in the ring. And matter of fact, because you wanted to know, I am taking advice of one individual, and from one thing that he told me the other night, and this goes out to Mr. Chris Craven.
Yes, he's our coach. He's always on here Friday nights after Raw SmackDown.
There you go. He gave me one little piece of advice. He said, if I could give you, Manny, this is what I would do. And I actually listened to him, and I took it to heart because it makes the absolute most sense. The best thing about this year and me being in the ring, it doesn't matter about winning or losing or what's going on. It's just literally the more that I'm going to be in the ring, the better I'm going to be at. All I need is just ring time. And every single match I could get, that's just more ring time for me. And you think I'm great now, by the end of this year, you're going to think something else. You're going to think, wow, what the hell happened? He's just even better than what he is. I'm just going to get better and better. That might sound a little bit arrogant, cocky.
No, this is why you're our 2023 Personality of the Year. That's exactly why. Listen, I said Taylor Swift we turned down. We turned her down for you instead. This is exactly why we wanted you.
Well, it's literally like the song says, Tom. If it ain't bragging if you can back it up. And I can back up every single word I say. I do it every time.
Well, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we have our first member of our 5th class of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame and our 41st member. His name, operatives, is our Tyrant King, the Nemesis James Taylor, also the host of the Nemesis Sessions, and also on YouTube at Taff_Taylor, TikTok at Taff_Taylor. Also, Instagram, Taff_Taylor. YouTube's Taff Taylor, but you can still look it up. It's the same thing. And Coach told Darkron to go hit the gym, and I'm sure he will say that. But obviously, it's been an historic night. It's been one for the ages. I think this is your greatest performance yet on Sportswire Radio. It certainly lived up to all expectations. It was one for the ages. I mean, we've had people, even now we still have people tuned into you, but obviously it's been, a night where I think people have kind of got a sense of where you're going to go. And I can't wait to get you back on here. I don't know if it's going to be you in the ring with Cameron Cage or Nicholas Crenson or Soldier GP or ADT, AJ Morgan, Darkron, CJ Black. I don't know if it's going to be the pros, independents, New South, maybe Alan Michaels even. But, I know one thing, that we're going to see you at some point. Before I get to those closing thoughts, you said that you're waiting for the guy to bring the best out of you. Taylor, I guarantee, and I'm that guy, and I'll tell you what, in a 400-seat venue, you could sell a lot of tickets with Soldier GP. I mean, I tell you what.
Oh, man, he says that, I would love that, Soldier. Please.
You're hearing about it for a year since the Nemesis first episode.
The Nemesis James Taylor, Taff Taylor, am begging you, pleading you for you to be that guy, because Darkron thinks he's going to be that guy. Gage Flair thinks he's going to be that guy. ADT thinks he could be that guy. I challenge you to be that guy, because I promise you, kid, that I'd be the one to bring out the best in you. You think you've had the best matches ever. I promise you, not until you step into the ring with me can you call yourself great. I promise you.
I'll tell you what, I would just love to see you in Soldier. I love to see you in the ring with anybody at this point, because I think the wrestling world, because of the term all wrestling matters, needs to see you back out there. But the Nemesis James Taylor, this has been one for the ages. I'd like to give you the floor now. I'd like to give you some closing thoughts while I put up your social media links here, and anything else you'd like to say, my friend. I turn it over to you, and thank you for all that you've done for making this sport relevant since 1998. Thank you for everything, and fire away, our first member of our 5th class in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. And yes, the reason I do the things that I do for this business is because I love this business. I love this business more than almost life itself. There's two things that are that I love more, and that's that, and then my wife. My wife's number one, and God. I know I don't want to get
And your
religious
cat,
on a lot
and
of
your cat,
people.
by the way, because on
I don't want
TikTok,
to.
your cat's been a big following, by the way. Give your
Yeah,
cat some love too.
there you go. I don't want to. I don't want to get into a big other people, but like I love God, and He takes care of me, and He takes care of everybody. But beside the point, that my wife and wrestling, those are my big things in my life, and I love this business since I was a kid, since I was 3 years old, and my mom put on freaking Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3, which was randomly on TV, and she's like, "Here, watch this," because I was in awe of. And then here goes Hogan with the body slam, and I'm a 3-year-old, and I jump off the couch doing fly stuff because I was just going nuts over it. And I've been hooked ever since. It was literally the hook for me, and the rest was history. And then when I got into my teens, I started with the wrestling career, started on the trampoline. All I did was just me and my friend, hey, look at, let's do the tombstone, let's do a choke slam. We would on the trampoline. I see people nowadays, Tom, that do their stuff on the trampoline. They jump on a trampoline. I'm
I
like,
have a
come
guy
on.
next week, Chris Aruda, wrestles on the trampoline, legendary backyard wrestling. I mean, we're gonna have him come back on the show.
I know, but
Yes.
it's the fact that and thank you for everybody, but I love this business and I love to tell stories, and all I want to do is get in the ring with anybody that's willing to want to get in the ring with me. I'm the safest worker you're ever going to work with, but in character wise, I am going to beat your ass, plain and simple. Period. You can say I'm a stone cold knockoff all you want, but I promise you, this year the Nemesis. You ever heard of reinventing your character?
Oh, I have. There's a guy named Jeff Jarrett, Chris Jericho. They've been doing that since, I don't know, 1999, back when you were just starting out.
Yeah, well, I'm already on the verge of doing something like that, something big too. So stay tuned for that. I promise you. All
And I
right.
and I and I promise you're going to want to follow James Taylor on these platforms here and join me in buying some merchandise, because right when I'm off this air, I'm getting my Nemesis James Taylor shirt. So when he comes back on Sportswire, you damn straight I could have that NJIT shirt. For those that are listening, I couldn't see. My eyes are
You
shut.
good?
The point is that I'm getting my shirt. Join me in also acknowledging our Tyrant King. And like I said, I can't wait for the future. I'm so excited and I'm so honored that we had the Taylor that we wanted tonight. We turned down Taylor Swift for the Taylor that everybody's talking about here. And it's been one for the ages. Yes, Ethan Sorensen, congratulations to James Taylor. James Taylor, thank you for all that you've done for this sport. Thank you for everything that you've done for this community. Thank you for everything you've done in giving people an opportunity. Thank you for what you've done for Sportswire Radio. Thank you for being the personality that everybody wants to hear from. Thank you for just being here with us anytime we've needed. And I'm so honored to have called you now our 41st member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And I can't wait to have you on next. And maybe the next time we'll talk about where you're going in the ring. And one more comment here, the legend himself, James Taylor, was in the first backyard match I ever watched. Changed my life.
Really? Is
What does
that
that
right?
mean to you?
That means a lot. I thank you. I'm glad that you watched it. I hope you liked it. If you wasn't entertained by it, I apologize, but I did the best I could. So thank you.
Well, you know what, CW times Deuce, you're in the right spot, because if you like backyard wrestling or all wrestling, we're on YouTube here at Sportswire Radio 6579. And I'm going to be back on tonight now. It would be right after Monday Night Raw with some guys you know very well. EBK, Alan Michaels, probably heard of him, right? You shared a locker room with him briefly for like maybe a day. Shane
Yeah.
Davidson, Armin. He's going by at this point, but they're going to be here along with my buddy Randy Dillon to talk about the road to WrestleMania. And if you like backyard wrestling, also CW times Deuce, I'm going to be streaming a backyard wrestling, underground wrestling match Friday night with DKW and IMF between Joe Stone and Freddie Daniels. So keep it tuned in here anytime to Sportswire Radio. And I'm going to be here with an old friend of James Taylor's, Alexander Kelly, Tuesday night. So stay tuned for all of that. Thank you for your support. James Taylor, thank you for all that you've done here in this sport. Thank you for everything in what you've done. I can't say it enough. And that's why, for those that are listening and watching one more time on Sportswire Radio and elsewhere, Thank you for being our 2023 Personality of the Year and our 41st member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, but our first member kicking off our fifth class here in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. Thank you, my friend, and I can't wait to see you back out there.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the newest member of our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, the Taylor that everybody wants, the real Taylor, the one and only Taylor, James Taylor, the Nemesis James Taylor, our Tyrant King and fellow operatives. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, where all wrestling matters. And if you're on Sportswire Radio on Twitch, give us a sub for the first time. If you're on YouTube, stay with us here tonight. I'll be back for Raw post coverage with TBK, Chris Craven, also Randy Dillon, Alan Michaels, and Shane Davidson. And if you're on sportswireradio.org, check us out because you're going to see James Taylor's mugshot there soon for our Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame section. And also, we're on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. So, good evening, wherever you are. On another one, global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And all wrestling matters with the legendary Tyrant King, the Nemesis, James Taylor. Thank you, everyone.